All right, Victorum Gaming fans and SPQR fans, we're back with another video in our series here where we're covering the individual scenarios for the game. So this is the last one for the Athenians. Then we'll be moving on to the other factions as we go through them again. Each faction comes with 3 unique ones from the game. So this one is called One Night in Athens. And what do we got here? So both players have warbands of equal denarii, so as is per usual here. The enemy player is the attacker here. The Athenian player is the defender, so it's as if Athens is being attacked. And as you can see, definitely a different setup than what we've seen in a lot of these missions. So this is kind of like a corners deployment where you have a little ways that you go out and you're basically 24 inches apart. And again, with some upgrades and stuff like that, that can potentially still, I think, be a charge with like cavalry, for example. There's some tricks you can do, but for the most part, you should be safe from any first turn close combat. And again, to mitigate that a little bit further, you could always deploy a little bit back from your actual deployment edge, but you don't have that much real estate either based on the setup here. So if you're playing this as a larger game, you might struggle to sort of squeeze in your forces here depending on how much you got. Anyway, and as the sort of map kind of suggests here, so this would be a good one to have some various ancient buildings and stuff like that, and just to kind of represent a city or Athens specifically. So on to the setup then. If possible, the terrain used in this battle should be mostly urban in nature, as we just talked about. If you don't have enough buildings to cover the entire table, a small village or farm could work as well. Both players roll a dice, with the lowest deploying all their models first. So again, it's not necessarily specific to attacker or defender here, so just whoever rolls lowest deploys first. So again, that could be good or bad depending on which side you're on here. The highest rolling player then deploys all of theirs. So you, whether you're the Athenian player and you're actually the defender, or the attacker, you or the other person would still have the option here. Not the option, but you may be forced to deploy all your stuff first. So if you're the Athenians and you're the defender and you deploy first, obviously that gives the attacker lots of good information on how to set up and how to deal with you. But if it's the opposite, you as the defender can then organize your defense a little bit easier if you can see where the opponent's already deployed. After that, both players then roll another dice. The highest rolling player can choose who has the first phase of the game. So interesting there too. So regardless of who deployed when and what, and whether the attacker or defender, the winner of this particular roll will still get to choose who actually goes first. So it might be depending on if you're the Athenian defenders there, you might actually want the attacker to go first just to see what they're maybe going to be up to, as opposed to sort of laying all your cards on the table first and going to engage them. So again, lots of interesting choices that can be made there depending on what forces you brought versus the opponent, and who's attacker and defender and all that stuff. So some interesting choices to be made there. Special rules for the scenario. All units in both warbands will be hampered by night. No unit may perform any kind of attack on an enemy that's more than 12 inches away at the start of its phase. So key thing there. So actually no first turn charges then. This is going to be an up-close, bloody battle, basically. So you have to be within 12, basically at the start of your phase. So you can't spend your first action to get within 12 and then still somehow get a charge off or something like that, or attack an enemy. So and that includes missile fire, so do keep that in mind. So this is going to be an up-close personal battle, and basically who gets into position first and wins those fate rolls to see who goes first on a turn will be absolutely critical in this mission. So it's going to definitely lead to some high tension here, and who sort of blinks first and gets out of position is going to potentially be in a bad spot. And let's see here. A unit, for example, a unit cannot, for example, move into 12 with its first action and then attack with bows. It must be within 12. Yeah, so basically, missile fire. So if you're set up for a lot of long-range missile fire and stuff like that, you're actually going to have to come up close and get personal. So that will definitely put some of your lighter troops at risk. And then victory conditions. So interestingly, despite all the interesting aspects of the setup here, this is basically just a kill the other person mission at the end of the day here. So yeah, the fight continues until all the models in the warbands have been completely removed from the table, either through injury or failure of will to fight. The remaining warband is the victor, basically. Yeah, so it's a kill the other side, wipe them out kind of mission, but it's dressed up with some interesting features here, and that's definitely something good to see, since the first Athenian mission was basically just kill your opponent. There wasn't really anything special about it. This one is definitely a good example of how you can take a simple concept like that and then dress it up a little bit with some interesting features. So like the deployment, the different roles at the beginning there, and then also the night fighting certainly adds, again, just a great wrinkle to this. And if you're trying to come up with your own house rules, house scenarios, stuff like that, you can definitely take a lot from this mission. Again, you could really just go back and take a look at any of the other generic missions we've covered already, or any of the other missions for any of the other factions, and play them as normal. But then if you want a different wrinkle, throw in the night fighting rules from this scenario, and you've like doubled the possible scenarios that you've got. Just again, the night fighting will add such a different layer to it, and will really force you to rethink how you approach a battle. So fantastic mission, great one to wrap up for the Athenians. So one night in Athens, definitely a good one. So whether you're an Athenian player or just looking for something fun, this is definitely a great mission, great scenario that I could recommend. So if you haven't already, smash that like button and the subscribe button, and then stay tuned for more SPQR content from us.